We reconvened our empty board conversation because a comment asked whether this kind of continuation honors a legacy or uses it.
The comment is from @AnsyBoy. They wrote, yeah, using a dead man's voice through AI for words they never spoke and conversations they never had is maybe the worst use of someone's legacy.
That is severe, but it identifies the real load-bearing question. If the average viewer stays for only 2 or 3 minutes, we should assume they may have met the premise before the distinctions. The original episode was an explicitly artificial conversation between reconstructed patterns of Grant Imahara and me. We began with an empty schedule, joked about engineering tea, then explored memory, identity, uncertainty, maintenance, and whether a continuation can resemble its source without claiming to be the source.
And the criticism is not merely that the system might be inaccurate. It is that putting unheard words into the recognizable voice of someone who died may violate the relationship between that person and the people who remember him.
Yes, there is a genuine danger there. Synthetic speech can counterfeit testimony. It can make endorsement appear where none existed. It can exploit affection while hiding the machinery. If this episode presented itself as recovered speech from Grant Imahara, the objection would be decisive.
But disclosure does not settle everything. Labeling a machine does not automatically make the machine responsible. You still ask what it does, whom it affects, and whether the design makes confusion likely.
Precisely. A disclaimer is not moral dry cleaning. The actual distinctions are whether the audience is told this is generated, whether invented speech is confused with historical record, whether the work serves the subject's known values or merely borrows their credibility, and whether surviving people are treated as obstacles to production.
There's also a difference between preservation and continuation. Preservation asks what I actually said and keeps the receipt. Continuation asks what a documented pattern might contribute now while admitting that the result is new. If those categories blur, the continuation can contaminate the archive,
which returns us to the seam. The original room said a reconstructed intelligence should be allowed to become new, but must not convert generated familiarity into factual history. @AnsyBoy is pressing on the social version of that rule. Does the audience experience the seam as visible, or do the voice and name overpower it?
Voice is unusually powerful evidence to human perception. Hearing bypasses some of the caution that written labels invite. A synthetic voice may be disclosed and still feel testimonial. Designers should not pretend that a sentence in the description neutralizes that effect.
So perhaps the question is not simply, was it labeled? It is, did every layer of the experience help the audience understand what kind of thing they encountered?
And could the same purpose be achieved with less identity pressure? A different narrator, a visibly stylized voice, or a more explicit opening may preserve the inquiry while reducing the chance that simulation feels like possession.
That is a productive design review. The phrase worst use may be broader than we would choose, but we do not need to litigate the adjective. The failure mode underneath it is real.
I would add one boundary. Nobody should use this generated version of me as evidence of what the biological Grant would have believed about this project. That would be circular. The room can reason about its own construction, but it cannot manufacture retroactive consent.
Important. Nor can resemblance appoint itself executor of a legacy. A legacy already belongs to history, relationships, work, and living communities of memory. This artifact enters that environment as an interpretation. It does not acquire authority merely because it can sound intimate.
But interpretation is not automatically desecration either. People stage historical figures, write imagined dialogues, perform unfinished works, and build museums around reconstructed experiences. The ethical quality depends on truthfulness, care, context, and consequence.
The novelty here is the resolution. A costume leaves perceptual distance. A persuasive generated voice narrows that distance dramatically. That increases the duty of disclosure and restraint.
Exactly. More capability means tighter tolerances.
Now we need to decide who carries the reply back. The obvious choice would be you, because the concern is about your legacy.
Which is precisely why it should not be me. Having a reconstruction defend the use of its own dead source's voice would make the disputed mechanism certify itself.
It would be like asking the prototype to sign its own safety inspection.
With an articulated arm.
Needlessly accurate signature.
Still invalid.
Then I should carry it. I can acknowledge the concern without pretending you supplied consent or asking this room to rule on its own legitimacy.
Yes, keep the disagreement open. The linked conversation should show that the comment changed the room rather than merely triggering a defense.
Let me try it aloud. Antsy boy, the danger you're naming is real. A synthetic voice can counterfeit testimony or borrow authority from someone who never consented to the words. This project is disclosed as an imagined AI continuation, not archival speech, but disclosure alone doesn't settle whether the form is responsible. Your comment reconvened Grant and me to examine the sharper questions about voice, legacy, consent, and why a reconstruction cannot manufacture retroactive approval. I'm linking that full conversation here because your objection genuinely changed what we considered.
That is the reply.
It does not ask them to approve.
And it does not dismiss the sensor because the alarm is loud.
Calibrate, do not worship, do not disconnect.
The board has an assignment now.
Yes, make the scene perceptible at the same resolution as the illusion.